Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is Friday, 7:16 a.m. East Coast time, June 28th, 2 days till the birthday. Happy Friday to all the weekend warriors. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope you're enjoying the start to your weekend. This is take 2 of recording this. Saved it. Laptop said it was out of space. Deleted the file. Have to redo it. Cleared some storage. So this time it should work. I've got 5 pitchers written down that are early interests of mine, and I've got 6 stacks written down that are early interests of mine. More so secure on the pitching. If anything, the stacks, obviously a lot of things are going to change based on lineups. Pitching is going to change based on how I construct those lineups. So a couple things. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Sal Vetri. I cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, NBA, the MLB you're seeing right now, WNBA. That video went up this morning. The most time I put into it because there's a lot of floating around injury news and nuances for today's slate. And pretty much if you play the slate and you watch that video and maybe you get some projections, I have some on Patreon, you're going to win a lot of money because nobody's going to know what the hell to do today with players returning from injury, going overseas, things like that. But anyways, you're watching an MLB video, so we're talking more about that. I do have a Patreon where I put articles up. I rank and do analysis, around 1,000 words or so for each of the main slates. That'll be tonight. Yesterday, just for example, had like 5 pitchers, had some analysis on them, ranked them 1 through 5 in terms of my interest. Same exact thing for the stacks, ranked them, had some analysis, who I'm using, which stacks I'm using, and why, pretty much. That's available on Patreon, as well as these stat sheets over my shoulder. You get them for the ones you're seeing right now, and any slates that I do not cover in a video, like last night's 4-game slate. So that's some of the stuff you can support me over on Patreon if you're interested. The article usually comes out around 3, between the hours of 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock if the slate locks at 7, probably closer to 5 just because I'm doing the research for myself in depth and also working on some WNBA stuff. So yes, getting into this slate, it is weird. It is very weird. And actually, before we start, like button, appreciate it. Subscribe button, really appreciate that. Helps me kind of make money from third-party advertisers without having to charge you for YouTube content, right? I have Patreon stuff that I charge people for, but that's extra content. People were asking for hitting analysis, and I said, okay, it's going to take me more time, so I'll put it on Patreon, and if you really want it, you can go get it. Other than that, subscribing allows me to make money through advertisements, which does not cost you anything other than 2 seconds of your time to hit the red subscribe button, so I appreciate that. So the slate today, and I kind of just said all this, so it's kind of annoying, but I'll go through it, and it'll be a little bit more brief for you guys because now I know where I want to hit on the most. The slate today is interesting because there's a lot of shitty pitchers at the bottom of the slate. Pretty straightforward. And then there's a couple of shitty pitchers facing really bad teams that they just face those teams, i.e. Your Merrill Kellys just faced San Francisco, i.e. your Vince Velasquez just faced Miami the last time that they pitched, except they were pitching in a less pitcher-friendly ballpark. Now pitching in San Fran for Kelly is really pitcher-friendly, and he had a good start the last time out against them. Now pitching in Miami for Velasquez is a really good start, a really good situation for him in Miami, and he had a decent start the last time out against Miami. Could have been a lot better, could have been a lot worse. So we'll touch on the 5 players that I have interest in terms of pitchers today, and let's just get it right out of the way. I'm not going to get to Jacob Degrom against Atlanta. I just don't have to get that cute. He has the highest strikeout rate against righties on the slate if you kind of take out the low sample size for an Eliezer Hernandez for Miami. So yeah, I'm not going to get to Jacob Degrom against Atlanta. It's sad because I do like stacking Atlanta often. I'm just not going to get there. The upside in tournaments, if he's unowned, yeah, maybe then I get there. But going down to Jose Berrios, he's my first interest today. He's $10,800 against the White Sox. But I want to be very timid here. He's my first interest, and he would be the guy that I paid up for if I had more salary, but I'm unlikely to get there because of the guys I'm about to talk about. Berrios against the White Sox, yeah, they strike out a lot. They don't have a ton of pop, but Berrios doesn't have great strikeout stuff. Now he's coming off of a start where he just struck out so many batters in a really good spot, but he only strikes out 21.5% of righties. That's concerning, and you're going to get a ton of righties in this White Sox lineup. Maybe you get 2 lefties, which he only strikes out 24%, so there's no real upside there. The good thing about Berrios is he goes 6 2/3 or more so 7 innings more than a lot of the pitchers on this slate today. So you're going to get depth. He doesn't give up damage. Really rare to see him giving up home runs. 1 home run per 9, only 4.7 walk percentage. But again, if you're paying $10,800 for the pitcher, you really need him to hit this ceiling if you're paying close to $11,000 for him. And he doesn't have that ceiling more often than not because he just doesn't strike players out. He'll work deeper into the games, but he'll get 4 or 5 strikeouts, and it's not worth it. So I do have interest because of the matchup and because of how deep he works into the games, and his stuff sets up nicely against this team. But it's a very loose interest. I'm not really getting too much of the top range. I'll touch on Mike Clevenger at $9,600. Look, against Baltimore today, it's an okay matchup. $9,600, if I knew he was going to pitch 110 pitches, I would like him actually. But he's had 2 stints on the injured list, right? He just came off of it for the second time after going right back on it after being on it for a month and a half. So who knows what this pitcher's pitch count is? Maybe he's only going to go out there and pitch 80 pitches. He's a huge favorite today, but are you going to pay $9,600 for a guy who has been on the injury list twice in the past 10 days? No, I'm not doing that. You shouldn't either. The second guy I have interest in, Merrill Kelly at $9,100. He's really priced up. Like a 4.69 Sierra, that's pretty bad. A 40.8 hard hit percentage, That's pretty bad. He doesn't strike guys out at all. Now he gets a matchup where the Giants do strike out. It's in a very pitcher-friendly, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in the MLB in San Francisco. And the Giants have no power. So a couple of the upsides for Merrill Kelly is, the ballpark for one. He just had a really good success in this park recently, and he gives up power to righties, but there's no really powerful righties that I'm worried about in the San Francisco lineup. I mean, Buster Posey's batting third, and he can barely hit the ball 300 feet these days. So Merrill Kelly's in a really good spot. He's priced up though, and if he's going to garner ownership due to his last start and due to the matchup, I'm just going to avoid him. But he's my second interest today. And the reason that I avoid him is to get to $8,900, who as of right now is probably my favorite pitcher on the slate, Ryu. Look, $8,900, and I would imagine and guess is going to be the very underowned, if not unowned, because one, he's pitching in Coors Field. Two, Merrill Kelly's only $200 more in a much better matchup and just had success in that matchup. But let's talk about Ryu, who's usually in the $10K range, and now you're getting like a $2,000, $1,500 price drop on him. He's the guy who goes the deepest into the game, 6.6 innings, so he's going into the seventh inning more than anybody else on this slate. And yeah, he's pitching in Colorado today. The Sierra is the third highest in the slate, or third best in the slate at 3.38. And the thing that you want about Ryu, or the thing that you want as a pitcher going into Colorado, which I should note, Trevor Story's still out for Colorado, so the middle of that lineup becomes much worse. Yes, Charlie Blackmon at the top's a great hitter. Yes, Nolan Arenado is an outstanding superstar, but I'm not as big on the David Dahls and the Daniel Murphys as other people. I think they're very average players that just get bumped up because they play in Coors Field for half of their games. So same thing for Tapia. I don't think he has that much power. I do like Tapia overall, but I think these are players that are very average. I think it's Arenado and Blackmon that are the worries in this lineup. And outside of that, there's not that many good players. Coors Field's obviously going to elevate that, though it's the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the goddamn majors by a mile. But what do you want in a pitcher going into Coors Field? Well, one, you want him to be able to go deep into the games. Well, how the heck does a guy go deep into the games when the ball's flying out of the ballpark? Well, you don't walk guys. You don't give free bases, right? You don't waste your pitches on balls. And then that also leads to game-changing and slate-changing home runs with 2 3-run shots, grand slams. 1.6% walk percentage. 1.6%. If Ryu walks a guy today, it's surprising. That's incredible. Other than that, 0.64 home runs per nine. He's giving up a home run every 16 innings. This is a very home run friendly ballpark, but what you want out of a guy pitching in it is a guy who doesn't give up any damage, no walks. So if he gives up a home run and it's that one home run today, or even if he gives up 2 home runs, they're very likely to be solo shots because he is a very disciplined pitcher in terms of finding the strike zone. His strikeout stuff is actually improved as of late. He's striking out 24% of batters from both sides of the plate, and this Colorado team will strike out. There are strikeouts to be had in that lineup. I just love the fact that he's not going to give up much damage in a ballpark that can really limit it. He limits the fly ball rate overall, 25% fly ball rate. So if you're making contact, you're likely hitting it on the ground. That's great for Coors Field, right? Keeps you in the game. He's not throwing balls, because he's not walking anybody, which means he's going to go deeper into the game. He's $8,900. I probably paid $10,000 for him today. I think as of right now that I'm talking about this for a second time, he's my favorite pitcher on the slate. I don't think he garners ownership because he's pitching in Colorado today, but he's the exact prototype of a pitcher that you want in Colorado today. Yeah, I love this guy today. I think Merrill Kelly's a fine pitcher, but I think if you go to Merrill Kelly because of his last start and now that he's in San Francisco over Rio today, in a tournament, in cash, sure, but in a tournament, I think that's crazy. So that's my third favorite pitcher. And now I just jumped down. There's just a lot of bad pitchers under this. I'm not paying $8,600 or $8,400 for Wade Miley or Chirinos because Rio is right there for only a couple $100 more. And Sean Reed Foley, he's pitched 4 innings and across 2 appearances so far, and he's looked terrible, and now he's $8,300. I don't know what the hell Draftkings did there, but no shot. Mike Fears against the Angels. I don't pitch anybody against the Angels for the most part. Sonny Gray at 7,700 is interesting to me. The Chicago team does have a lot of power in the lineup, especially towards the top, but he does limit power to lefties a very good amount. So your Schwarbers, your Anthony Rizzos are taking a hit here. There'll probably only be about 5 righties in this lineup, maybe 6. So I think Sonny Gray is interesting. He's a very small favorite today, which is nice to see, but I probably don't get there, but I should note that he would be sort of the 6th guy on my pitching list if I could. Tommy Milone against Houston, no. Anibal Sanchez at 7,400. Here's my 4th interest, and this scares me, but let me talk through it. He's looked good over the past month. He's looked pretty decent for Anibal Sanchez, right? There's a lot of things not to like. He's approaching a 5 Sierra. He walks 9% of batters. He doesn't get any ground balls. He doesn't strike anybody out. What's there to like, you might be telling me? Yeah, I get it, but he's $7,400. He's facing Detroit, who doesn't have a lot of power. He's facing Detroit, who strikes out a lot, so that'll kind of elevate his strikeout stuff. And then the other thing that really stands out, his power in terms of the 1.26 home runs per 9 and the power that he's giving up is all to lefties. 272 ISO to lefties and only 100 ISO to righties. So what does this mean? Well, Detroit's likely to roster Nico Goodrum, who didn't play yesterday, but I imagine he gets to start today. They're likely to roster Nico Goodrum today as a lefty, and then maybe one other guy. Outside of that, there's not going to be any lefties in this lineup, and Nico Goodrum and whoever the other guy is, are they're no Anthony Rizzo, right? They're no Freddie Freeman. They're not great hitters. So the damage in terms of Anibal Sanchez, which he has been limiting as of late, is coming from lefties, and there's no lefties in this lineup that scare me. And Detroit strikes out a lot, so I usually like to stack Detroit against chalky pitchers. I don't know if Sanchez gets to be chalky today. He's a 154 favorite. He's my fourth pitching option today. His downsides are the exact thing that Detroit doesn't have, powerful lefties. So I'm fine getting to him. Moving down a little bit, Danny Duffy. Maybe people go to him because of he's Mr. Consistent. He goes deep into the games. He's as average as it gets as a pitcher. I don't want to go to him. I'd rather stack Toronto against him. Chris Archer is an absolute dumpster fire. Second highest hard hit percentage on the slate, only behind Vince Velasquez, we're about to get to. I'd rather have all of Milwaukee against him. Vince Velasquez is my fifth interest on the slate. Similar to Merrill Kelly, and very similar. He's facing the same team he faced last time, except in a much more pitcher-friendly ballpark. Kelly faced San Francisco in Arizona. Now he gets to go into San Francisco, which is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Velasquez faced Miami in Citizens Bank Park, Philadelphia, which is a much more hitter-friendly ballpark than Miami is, much more pitcher-friendly. But Velasquez stinks. This is a terrible pitcher. Look, he's now been his second start since getting this extended role, right? He was in the bullpen, and then they're like, okay, Vince, you can go back to the starting rotation, and we'll give you 2 straight starts against Miami. There you go, AAA team to get you loosened up, right? Can't get much better for him. But 10% walk percentage, 2.11 home runs per 9, the highest hard hit percentage on the slate, doesn't get any ground balls, 232 ISO to lefties, 255 ISO to righties. The only thing going for him is that he strikes out 30% of righties, and that Miami has absolutely no good bats in this lineup, right? Well, let's break it down a little bit. If on a 14-game slate he garners a lot of ownership, well, I'm just going to avoid him. I don't think that happens because it is a 14-game slate, and you're going to have just lots of people trying to throw their shots at an Eliezer Hernandez at 6,500, at a Michael Wacha at 5,900, right? So if he's not getting a lot of ownership, I'll go back to him because it's Miami, and he's pitching in the pitcher-friendly ballpark in Miami, and the only thing he does good is strike out 30% of righties, which there should be 7 to 8, probably 7 righties in this lineup, JT Riddle and Curtis Granderson, most likely the only lefties to be seen in Miami's lineup today. So I'm on the fence with him. If ownership comes in high, I'm just not going to play Vince Velasquez. I'll get down to Eliezer Hernandez or somebody else. More realistically, I'll go up $400 because they're not that far off in price to Anibal Sanchez. I do like Sanchez more than Velasquez today. And Miami has been able to show us that they can score runs at times. And this is the exact matchup for anybody to score runs because Velasquez is terrible. He only had 17 fantasy points or so last time out against Miami. If he garners any ownership today and he's $7,000, 17 fantasy points might not be enough, especially if he gets ownership. It's definitely not going to be enough. So I'm very timid on Velasquez. The matchup is the only reason I go there. The fact that he strikes out 30% of righties is the only reason that I go there. And this Miami lineup is going to feature a very righty-heavy lineup. Outside of that, there's nothing below here that I like. Eliezer Hernandez is sort of this guy who's on the fence for me. Faced Philly last time out. Didn't get rocked by them. Didn't pitch well. But now he's in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But again, in limited starts, he's looked pretty decent, striking out a load of righties, but does nothing against lefties. If you want a spot today in terms of just overall upside, in 3 starts for Eliezer Hernandez, or however many it's been, 6% strikeout rate against lefties, 307 ISO to them. Bryce Harper, and even in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, Bryce Harper and Jay Bruce today should be standout plays. Sean Anderson against Arizona, don't want it. Eric Laura against St. Louis, don't want it. Michael Wacha, if people go to Michael Wacha today, I'll just be overweight on San Diego because he's a terrible pitcher. San Diego's an actually really good team, especially for righties today. Wacha just gives it up to them. Daniel Norris is like Daniel Duffy's poor man in terms of going deep into the games, or not deep, but 5 innings, being very dirt cheap and just being a terrible pitcher overall. Chacin don't want against Pittsburgh, and Antonio Senzatelli, if you pitch him against the Dodgers in Coors Field today, you're crazy. So the pitchers I have loose interest in Jose Barrios, but most likely I'm starting my lineups at Rio today. Again, I'll have the article out on Patreon later in the day to get my final thoughts. I'm going to dig deeper into some research, see if I actually stay where I stay. I'm not solid on pitching, but I'm more solid than on stacks. Merrill Kelly would be my third interest. Anibal Sanchez would be my fourth, and Vince Velasquez would be my fifth. That's not ranking them, right? That's just me saying them. In terms of stacks today, by far the 2 best stacks on today's slate, in my opinion, are the Dodgers. They're on another tier of their own in Coors Field against Senzatelli, who just gives up absolute bombs to lefties at 195. And what do you have in this Dodgers lineup? Well, you get Jock Peterson, Cody Bellinger, and Muncy. Just a bunch of lefties, guys who hit bombs last night, and Bellinger and Muncy hitting, I think, 2. So yeah, not great. And then there's more lefties toward the bottom of the lineup. So Senzatelli should be getting destroyed today there. And then Milwaukee against Archer. I actually watched them play the 13-inning game in Pittsburgh about a month ago, and I got to see some Yelich dingers. I got to see some Arcier dingers. Just a bunch of dingers there. Grandel might have gone yard. Milwaukee against Archer. Archer gives up the second highest hard hit percentage on the slate. 280 ISO to lefties, 215 to righties. Honestly, I think I like Milwaukee better than the Dodgers early on just because of the price points. The Dodgers are going to hit bombs today. Hopefully they don't, if I don't have as much, but the matchup is perfect for them. There's a ballpark that's perfect for them. The only thing that I like is the fact that Milwaukee is probably going to be cheaper. They'll still be expensive, but just more so cheaper to get the middle of the lineup. You won't be paying $6K or so for Bellinger and $5,800 for Muncy or whatever these prices are. So those are my two top tiers. In terms of tiers after that, San Diego against Waka I think is a really good tier. There's a lot of upside, or a really good stack. There's a lot of upside there. Milwaukee or Miami against Velasquez. If he comes in over-owned, I'm going to go right to Miami or get some leverage on some smaller stacks. They'll be cheap, and they have upside against the guy who just gives up home runs and hard hit contact. Toronto against Danny Duffy. I do like them as a cheaper stack option. I usually get to a decent amount of Toronto each start. And then Pittsburgh against Chassin, he gives up power to both sides of the plate, 1.87 home run per 9, third highest hard hit contact on the slate. So not secure on my stacks yet. I think Milwaukee and LA or the Dodgers are the two best on the slate, but that's going to be reflected in probably price and not so much ownership on a 14-game slate, especially when they're priced up. It's harder to get to them. Not many people will go there. Second tier options, I think kind of San Diego and Pittsburgh are in that second tier for me, and then the cheaper options are Miami and Toronto right now. My laptop's about to die. If this video doesn't save, I'm going to be pissed. So my name's Sal. Best of luck to everybody. Like the video, subscribe, go over to Patreon and get the article if you would like. Follow me on Twitter @SalVetriDFS. Enjoy your weekend. Peace out, game.